Hello. Hi everyone. Welcome to the session. My name is Satyam, and in today's video we are going to cover the very four most important AWS services. So coming to the very first service that we're going to talk about is basically coming into the landscape of virtualization. So virtualization, we're gonna understand what kind of service is in AWS is going to help us with virtualization. The second service that we are going to understand, that is basically related with storage. So how can we store our data in AWS? We're gonna talk about that. The third service basically coming from the landscape of networking. So if we want to do networking in AWS, how can we do that? And the fourth service that we are referring, that is going to cover the database section. So if we want to implement virtualization, if you want to create a virtual machine within AWS, the service that AWS is providing called EC2, and EC2 basically called as Elastic Compute Cloud. Elastic Compute Cloud. The second service that we are talking about is storage. So if you want to store unlimited data on AWS, then which service we have to use? The name of the service is called as S3. So S3 stand for Simple Storage Service. Okay, and by the way, S3 is the very first service of AWS. So if you are not knowing, then this is very important. The very first service with which AWS came into market was S3. It was the very first services which was launched. Now, in case if you are interested in networking and willing to understand how networking can be implemented on AWS platform, which services is primarily used for networking, then the name of the service is called as VPC, that is Virtual Private Cloud. So VPC stand for Virtual Private Cloud. Using this service, you can implement all sort of networking in AWS. Now, if you are willing to create a database, if you want to store data, if you want to create a relational database system, or if you want to create a non-relational database, you can create using the services. So AWS is offering a service that is called as RDS. So RDS stand for Relational Database Service. Relational Database Service. So we're going to talk about all those four services, but guys, as of now in the market, as of now in 2022, AWS is offering around 250 services in the market. So AWS landscape is so much huge. They are offering a lot of services in the markets in various sectors, but out of which these are the four pillar services. You can say these are the services which will be used in every company, every project, and in every interview you will have the question from these all four services. So we're gonna take a small we're gonna understand these services in a really quick manner, and we're gonna understand what all things that we need to learn in all these services. You can reach out to me on my mobile number in case if you have any questions, doubt. The number is 7411891570. Okay, so let's get started. The very first service that we are talking about is S3. The first service, you can say like S3, S3 is what? So S3 is a simple storage service. And what is S3? So S3 is a simple web service. It's a simple web service. It loads in a browser, and it has a very simple interface by which you can upload unlimited amount of data, and you can download unlimited amount of data anywhere, any point in time. So it's a service which is being offered by AWS, which offers you to simply upload the data at your convenience and download the data as per your convenience. S3 is basically object-based storage. You can upload a structured, unstructured, and semi-structured kind of data. Here you can see in S3, it was launched in the March 2006, and it is the very first service of AWS. Now coming to the another service that we have here is EC2. EC2, as I told you, is it's a virtualization service which is being offered by AWS, And guys, EC2 is used to create virtual server. Using EC2 you can create virtual servers. Servers are called as instances in AWS landscape, and you can create a Linux servers, you can create Windows servers, you can create a SUSE, RHL, and all those services. So what is AWS EC2? So using AWS EC2, you can create multiple servers. So just as I told you, okay, you can create servers on demand. So servers are called as instances. So instances on demand, you can create instances on demand. It means whenever you want, you can create instances. So what kind of instances support? You can create Linux instances. We can have Linux instance created. We can have Windows instance created. We can create a SUSE, Ubuntu, and RHL. So we can create multiple flavors of virtual machines, or people basically understand EC2 as virtual machine, to create virtual machine. Now, whenever you want, you can create virtual machine at your convenience. Now, what are the things that you need to learn inside EC2? When you are learning EC2, what are the key points that you need to understand? So the very first thing that you need to understand while learning is in EC2 is first how to create any Linux or Windows instance. Then you have to learn there is the concept called instance type. So please learn instance type. Instance type are being offered by AWS. There are multiple type of instance which is being offered. We can purchase type. So what kind of instance do we want to purchase from AWS? Then we can learn life cycle. So these are basically the topics that we need to learn inside EC2. So life cycle of a EC2 instance, life cycle of EC2 instance. The fourth one is IP. We need to understand there are concepts like public IP, private IP, and elastic IP. So these are very, very important. We need to understand what is the use of public IP, what is the use of private IP, how and why we need to have elastic IP into picture. Vertical scaling is a important point. Vertical scaling. And then we can learn bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is very, very important and very must ask interview questions. And security group. So in this channel I am going to bring topic wise, or you can say service wise, in most important interview question that might I have asked, or that is the most important interview questions I will bring to you, okay. So these are very, very simple services. EC2 is one of the simple service. It is one of the simple and primary services. Then we are coming to S3. So in S3, what all things you need to learn? So as I told you, okay, S3 is a simple object service, some simple storage service where you can upload your data and you can download your data any point in time. So what are the topics that are very, very important for everyone to learn in AWS S3 is you need to understand the concept of bucket and objects concepts. You should be knowing what is object lock. Object lock is very, very important interview questions people ask in interview. Then we have something called S3 tiers or classes. So S3 tier and classes we need to learn. Topics like versioning is very, very important, and interview must ask interview question. S3 bucket policy, this is very, very important. S3 bucket policy. So guys, whatever topics that I'm writing and whatever topics I'm telling is very, very important with respect to interview. So if you are preparing for your interview, please go through S3 and learn, and you can check videos about these topics on the channel itself. So I will be creating a separate videos for all these topics. So S3 bucket policy, then cross region replication. S3 offers a very, very important feature that is called as cross region replication. Cross region replication, which is used to copy the data from one bucket to another bucket. Then we have something called as S3 encryption. So these are some of the important topics that anybody has to prepare for interview. So if you are going for interview, please prepare about bucket and objects, object lock, S3 tier classes, what are the versioning, bucket policy, how bucket policy is used, how to apply bucket policy on a bucket, that is for security, and data consistency model, data consistency model. So if you don't know anything about this, then ping me, comment on the chat. I will create a separate video for this. Now coming to networking. So if you want to implement networking in AWS, you have to refer a service that is called virtual private cloud. Virtual private cloud helps you to create multiple virtual network. So using this service, it gives you ability to create multiple virtual network, Using this network, using multiple virtual network, you can deploy your application in isolation. And in interview, people do ask, why do you need networking? Why do you need multiple network? So we need network to deploy resources in a isolation, to deploy resources in isolation. So being VPC is the heart of AWS, in every interview you will be asked. There are a couple of topics that I'm going to write, which is very, very important. If you are preparing for VPC, please have a look to this topic. So first you need to understand what is the default VPC. There is something called as default VPC, and you need to learn about default VPC and custom VPC. So please go through default VPC and custom VPC. You need to understand the subnets. There is a concept called subnets. You need to understand subnets. Then we have some concept of internet gateway, internet gateway, a NAT gateway, NAT gateway. A lot of people in interview, people do ask questions about NAT gateway versus NAT instances. So I will be creating a separate video for NAT instances and NAT gateway. Okay, NAT instances and NAT gateway are very, very important interview question. All the service-based companies do ask this kind of question. They will ask you, please draw a architecture of VPC. What is the use of internet gateway and NAT gateway? So internet gateway versus NAT gateway. Even you need to cover the topic like network access control list, security group, network access control list, route tables. You need to understand what is the use of route tables, and last, that the very, very important, that is called VPC peering. So if anybody is preparing for an interview, then you need to cover these 4 topics in detail with these topics. So if you have these topics covered, then you can able to answer most of the question in interview. Coming to RDS, guys, what basically RDS is? So RDS is basically relational database service which is being offered by AWS. AWS offers total 6 type of database engine. So you can create Amazon Aurora or MySQL or PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Microsoft SQL Server, and Oracle. You can create all total 6 databases on AWS platform, and these databases will be called as PaaS database because these will be offering from AWS. So we have this particular service, AWS RDS, relational database service, which is used to create a database. So when you are coming to this particular service, what all things that you need to know, that RDS is used to create a relational database. So using RDS, you can create database on AWS platform. So you can create a database and you can use database, you can connect to that database. And then you need to learn about the backup. So backup basically provided by AWS. So backup you need to learn. There are 2 type of backups. One is automated backup. Then we have something called as manual snapshot. So learn about manual snapshot and backup. Read replica, multi-AG deployment, parameter groups, the snapshot, migration of DB, migration of RDS from one AWS to another. Okay, so these are the very four important services, or you can say the pillar services: virtualization, storage, networking, and database. So using EC2, you can create a multiple virtual machine on AWS. Using S3, you can store unlimited amount of data. Using VPC, you can create multiple virtual networks that will help you to deploy your resources in isolation, and database will help you to create multiple database. So you can create multiple databases in RDS. AWS RDS offers total 6 type of database engine. So that's it for this particular video, and do let me know in case if you have any of the doubt, if you need explanation of any of the topic. So till then, thank you, bye.